I'm gonna try to read this in the best way possible without making it two parts, but I probably won't be able to. It's long. Cinderella. I'm spelling a lot right now, manifesting even more that's unheard of and unseen by the unheard and unseen. Taking oath of a series of sacred vows, controlling who does what and what goes where without affecting free will. Be still and know that He is God, and we are both. Do not be concerned with trivial questions and answers with the mind of a scholar and the body of a professional dancer. Charged by unmatched, unmarried defeat, we finally meet in the center of a foreign street that was closed by the city years ago for reconstruction that never happened because the disc on the property was never found or disclosed, and the bank foreclosed in adjacencies that are too advanced to be decorated to cover the decomposed remains of a wilderness adventure gone wrong in the middle of nowhere where the wind was too strong all along. I'm spelling a compelling article that will leave you breathless before you know why and exposed before you can get dry. Too slick and too shy to advertise any words from the deserted family of the worldly wise. Too spiritually lit for ordinary shit and too aroused to move over our dysfunctional clit. I had to protect the spelling on Twitter back then when I posted this, so it doesn't get flagged by Twitter for being inappropriate. Insert eye roll here to claim your ending prize of this year. Too hot to handle, too hard to steer, breaking the bottle opener in a desolate attempt to chug that naked beer. Jesus is very near. I can feel His desire to heal. Extend a listening ear to someone the adversary plotted to steal by omission of content that requires the direct access of pertinent information, informing the latest news sources that conforming isn't legit and reform is a step-by-step process to toss the current guidelines away and reinvent the currency that pays for these circumvented fines that govern the finically state borders and time zones that remain in the background in the backyard to stand guard hand over your heart. Taking ineffective orders from a team that loves to provoke random suffering when spooked by the anti-corruption movement that became a fair, fun, and free act the last time we casually spoke. Fact for frozen fact, stoned by the remedial pact it was bribed to make in efforts to partake of the divine amendment still unclaimed and dramatically, climactically feared, as well as revered for its magical powers baked into the human psyche, sometimes repellent of Reiki, and resistant to anything anyone psychically tells them that doesn't match or resonate with their own intuition. These things are channeled. I know they sound like run-on sentences. They are run-on sentences, but that's because there's so many words that go into it. Third eyes can and will deceive you too if you grow careless during fixing your well-disguised, clueless mess in the form of your future when you felt unsure of what would force the time to pass until they found a viable cure that a doctor could use in pure injection as the storm waited to dilute the passion, to salute its starring enemy in another criminal fashion of practical proportions that are well known to cause disruptive distortions that live through the thrift store when there's nothing left to compete for, cash and change in exhausted exchange for a useful cord that found itself on your doorstep when all it ever asked for was the front yard. Too late to discard in regards to the face of the non-anorexic jungle of MySpace and Facebook when all it takes is a phone call or a text message to hook your friends that follow into taking a special look at the derogatory comments on events that will never involve or concern them. But the fan base is the real gem, especially when encountering encouragement along the way that provides refuge to save your dishonest day when you save the spell check for the speech you're aiming to propose by disclaiming to disclose the poise you've taken by selfish specialist speculation of what went wrong when minding their business would be the most brilliant thing they've ever done. Getting attention is more valuable than spilling any truth, because that's not popular and they aren't trending. But if they stopped to consider what they're casually spending, they would fix their priorities ASAP, with the drop of a cowboy hat and boots that shrunk when they got drunk on wine, that hung from the literary vine on multiple misdemeanor charges, minor convictions, and hefty fines traded for mercurial fees, that stopped the fur on pioneer pieces from shredding all over the brand new bedding the night before the concluding period of time that marks the insecure wedding. All who oppose may speak up at the last given minute, but do you really have the nerve to cancel our plans with one look in my direction? I am sorry I had to scratch my nose, and that was terrible timing because the next sentence is kind of mind-bending a little bit. You know that's all it takes to dismantle me. Almost effortlessly, but very effectively and soberly bending me over the nearest abandoned trunk, sorting me out into a familiar military bunk, and framing the hours I spent blaming those who truthfully chose to abandon their promises and cling to other things that provide temporary relief from all kinds of unreasonable grief. And yet I want you to remind me why I'm a woman and the hidden moments that Oscar-worthy performances and nominations are inspired by. The secrets you foretold will not be so bold with me. They know better, and so should you, but I don't think you do. Cinderella isn't the only one who lost her gullible shoe. The story stands the test of time, but it has no I'm sorry, I don't know what I wrote there, but it no many other mountains to climb. That's what that says. I will have to fix it. Whether it will remain a classic is not in our hands, but the symbolism will and meaning will never die or change. Your retired speculation is out of range to be awfully strange as the facts emerge from the terrible and formidable acts of conscious terror that has an understatement that's hardly exaggerated for the ruthless understanding of its dangerous error. Turning pages today and tomorrow that shadow every offer to circumvent the time we took for granted, that shaped every current event, deprived of money and resources well spent to help pay rent. I still don't know what you sent, but I also have no idea where you went, and it's time to reinvent the mindset that reminded you that you aren't broken, only bent, relentlessly, and for that I am grateful. I never dreamed I would care for you so harshly. All rights reserved, 2021. For some reason, I couldn't fit that all in a 10-minute video on my phone, and then I ended up getting a storage warning on it again. Oh, and I was notified on TikTok that we can now upload 30-minute videos. That's interesting. I was talking about how you can only add 10-minute videos on there, and suddenly there's a 30-minute option. Alright, cool. So yeah, this was called Cinderella. I don't really want to try to podcast it because the last time I tried to podcast a long poem, it went out on me. The video doesn't do that, so here we are.